Let's open our eyes to the world that's around us. Science has the answers to the questions that have found us.
Malia Science.
Hey Malia gang! This week we are going to do a video about a Dr. Seuss book, Bartholomew and the Oobleck. See, in honor of Dr. Seuss's birthday, March 2nd, we're going to do a video about this book because it's got a little bit of science in it, believe it or not. We're going to read the book and then we're going to take a look at what we call Oobleck, cornstarch and water, and talk about that and what makes it so special and why it's a non-Newtonian fluid. It'll be pretty cool. So, here we go. Let's read Bartholomew and the Oobleck.
They still talk about it in the kingdom of Did, as the year the king got angry at the sky. And they still talk about the page boy, Bartholomew Cubbins. If it hadn't been for Bartholomew Cubbins, that king and that sky would have wrecked that little kingdom. Bartholomew had seen the king get angry many, many times before. But that year, when His Majesty started growling at the sky, Bartholomew Cubbins just didn't know what to make of it. Yet all that year, the old king did it. All year long, he stared up into the sky above his kingdom, muttering and sputtering, through his royal whiskers. Humph! The things that come up down from my sky. All spring, when the rain came down, he growled at that. All summer, when the sunshine came down, he growled at that. All autumn, when the fog came down, he growled at that. And that winter, when the snow came down, he started shouting. This snow, this fog, this sunshine, this rain. Bah! These four things that come down from my sky. But King Derwin, Bartholomew tried to calm him, you've always had these same four things come down. That's just the trouble, bellowed the king. Every year the same four things. I'm mighty tired of those old things. I want something new to come down. Something new? Come down? Bartholomew gasped. Oh, that's impossible, Your Majesty. You just can't have it. Boy, don't you dare tell me what I can or cannot have. Remember, Bartholomew, I am king. I know, sire, said Bartholomew. You rule all the land and you rule all the people. But even kings can't rule the sky. Can't they? His Majesty flew into a terrible rage. Well, maybe other kings can't do it, but maybe I'm one king who can. You mark my words, Bartholomew Cubbins. I will have something new come down. But how to get something new to come down? That was the rather hard to think up. And for many days, the old king stomped around trying to figure out some way to do it. Then finally, late one night, when all the lords and ladies of the palace were fast asleep, just as the king was buttoning his royal nightshirt, he suddenly stopped still. A strange wild light began to shine in his gray-green eyes. Why, of course, he began laughing. They can do it for me. Bartholomew Cubbins, blow my secret whistle. Whistle, quick! Call my royal magicians. Your royal magicians? Your Majesty, Bartholomew shivered. Oh no, Your Majesty, don't call them. You hold your tongue, Bartholomew Cubbins. You do as I command you. Blow my secret whistle. Yes, sire, Bartholomew bowed. But Your Majesty, I still think that you may be very sorry. He took the king's secret whistle from its secret hook. He blew a long, low blast down the king's back secret stairway. And a moment later, he heard them coming up from their musty hole beneath the dungeon. Up the empty midnight tunnel to the royal bedchamber tower came the magicians on their padded, shuffling feet. Up and right into the room they came, chanting, Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff, Vista, vista, Mr. Cuff. We are men of groans and howls, mystic men who eat boiled owls. Tell us what you wish, O king. Our magic can do anything. I wish, spoke the king, to have you make something fall from my skies that no other kingdom has ever had before. What can you do? What will you make? For a moment, they stood thinking, blinking their creaky eyes. And then they spoke a word. One word. Oobleck! Oobleck? Asked the king. Well, what will it look like?
Won't look like rain, won't look like snow, won't look like fog, that's all we know. We just can't tell you anymore. We've never made Oobleck before.
They bowed. They started toward the door.
We go now to our secret cave, our mystic mountain Necatave. There all night long we'll work for you, and you'll have Oobleck when we're through.
Oh, they'll do something crazy, whispered Bartholomew. Call them back, your majesty. Stop them. Stop them? Not for a ton of diamonds, chuckled the king. Why, I'll be the mightiest man that ever lived. Just think of it. Tomorrow, I'm going to have Oobleck. It took Bartholomew a long time to get the excited king to sleep that night. But there was no sleep for Bartholomew, the page boy. All night long, he stood in the skies, in the king's window, staring out at the majestic mountain Necatave. Somewhere up there, Bartholomew knew the magicians were working their terrible magic. All night the magicians did. All night they walked circles around their magic fire, making magic mumbling with their clucking tongues.
Oh, snow and rain, you're not enough. Oh, we must make some brand new stuff. So feed the five with wet mouse hair. Burn an onion, burn a chair, burn a whisker from your chin, and burn a long soured lizard skin. Burn yellow twigs and burn red rust, and burn a stocking full of dust. Make magic smoke, green, thick, and hot. It sure smells dreadful, does it not? That means the smoke is now just right, so quick before the day gets light. Go, magic smoke, go high, go rise into the kingdom sky. Go make the Oobleck tumble down, go on every street in every town. Go make the wondrous Oobleck fall, oh, bring down Oobleck on us all.
Dawn was just breaking, and Bartholomew was still standing, trembling, watching at the bedchamber window. But now, as the sun rose, Bartholomew smiled. Those silly magicians hadn't done a thing. Then suddenly Bartholomew Cubbins stopped smiling. Was he seeing things? No. There was something strange up there in the sky. At first it seemed like a little greenish cloud, just a wisp of greenish steam. But now it was coming lower, closer down toward the fields and the farms and houses of the sleeping little kingdom. It was swirling around the topmost turrets of the palace. Tiny little greenish specks were shimmering in the air right over his head. Queer little greenish blobs, just about the size of grape seeds. He stretched out his hand. He started to catch one. Then he pulled his hand back. There was something frightening about those blobs. Bartholomew slammed the window shut. "Wake up, your majesty," he shouted. "Your Oobleck, it's falling." The king sprang out of his royal bed. "By my royal whiskers it is," he cried. "Oh, that beautiful Oobleck, and it's mine, all mine." "I don't like the looks of those blobs, sire," said Bartholomew. "They're coming down now, as big as greenish peanuts." "The bigger the better," laughed the king. "Oh, what a day! I'm going to make it a holiday. I want every man, woman, and child in my kingdom to go out and dance in my glorious Oobleck." "Out in that stuff?" asked Bartholomew. "Do you really think it's safe, sire?" "Stop asking foolish questions," snapped the king. "Boy, you run to my royal bell tower. Wake my royal bell ringer. Tell him to ring the great holiday bell." For a moment, Bartholomew Cubbins didn't move. "Run!" barked the king. Bartholomew ran. Across the sleeping palace, Bartholomew ran. Then up the ladder of the high bell tower, he climbed to the bell ringer's little cubbyhole in the belfry. "Ring your bell," he called. "His Majesty the King proclaims today a holiday." The old man crawled out of his cot. He grabbed the bell rope. "What's the holiday for, Bartholomew?" "You'll find out soon enough," said Bartholomew. The bell ringer yanked the rope. Nothing happened. He yanked it harder. Still nothing happened. "Eh? What's wrong with my bell?" he murmured. "I'd better take a look outside." He poked his head out through the little trap door. "Merciful gracious," he gulped. "What is that all over my bell like greenish molasses?" "Not only your bell," Bartholomew cried. "Look at the poor robin down there in the tree. She's stuck to her nest. She can't move a wing. The Oobleck's gooey. It's gummy. It's like glue." "Oh, The bell ringer wrung his hands. "If that green stuff sticks up my robins, it'll stick up people too." "Someone's got to warn the people," cried Bartholomew. "Got to wake them, warn them. Stay inside their houses. I'll tell the royal trumpeter," he shouted. He turned and slid like lightning down the bell tower ladder. To the trumpeter's tower raced Bartholomew Cubbins, and up the steps 4 stairs at a time. As he ran, he could hear the plop plop of the oobleck on the window panes. It was pelting again against the palace walls, as big as greenish cupcakes now. He yanked the covers off the snoring trumpeter. He shoved his cold trumpet right into his sleepy hands. "Get up! Warn the people! Blow the alarm!" "Alarm?" yawned the trumpeter. Then his eyes saw the oobleck. "Those green things, Bartholomew. Where'd they come from?" "The king," panted Bartholomew. "His royal magicians made them." The royal trumpeter leapt from his bed. "That king of ours should be ashamed." He jabbed his trumpet out of his window. "I'll blow," he shouted, "the loudest alarm that's ever been heard in the kingdom of Did." But all the royal trumpeter blew was glug. "My horn," he gulped. "One of those greenish things flew inside of it." He tried to blow it out. He couldn't blow it out. He tried to shake it out. He couldn't shake it out. I'll get it somehow," he yelled. "I'll pull it out." "No," shouted Bartholomew. "Don't you touch it." The trumpeter's hands was already in it. His fingers grabbed hold of a lump of oobleck. He could feel it squiggle around in his fist like a slippery potato, dumpling made of rubber. He pulled with all his might. The oobleck began to stretch. Then, glong, the oobleck snapped back inside the trumpet. It yanked his arm back in, right up to the elbow. "I can't wiggle a finger," the trumpeter wailed. "Oh, Bartholomew, what'll I do?" "I don't know. And I have to leave you stuck to your horn. But if you can't warn the people of the kingdom, I have to go find someone who can." Out of the room and down the stairs raced Bartholomew Cubbins. Down to the chamber of the captain. The captain was humming in front of his mirror, combing the ends of his handsome moustache. "Captain, do something!" shouted Bartholomew. "Do something? Why?" smiled the captain. "What's wrong?" "Captain, haven't you seen the dreadful oobleck? It's coming down now as big as greenish baseballs." "Oh, that stuff," laughed the captain. "Ah, what's so dreadful about that, lad? You know, I think it's rather pretty." "Captain," pleaded Bartholomew, "it's dangerous." "Nonsense," snorted the captain. "Lad, you're trying to frighten me." "Captains, my boy, are afraid of nothing. That stuff's harmless. I'll show you. I'll eat some." "Eat some?" gasped Bartholomew. "Oh, no!" But before Bartholomew could stop him, the captain was leaning out of his window and scooping up some oobleck on the end of his sword. "Don't, Captain, don't!" The captain did. By the time Bartholomew dragged him back inside the room, his mouth was glued tight shut with oobleck. He tried to speak, but no words came out. All the noble captain of the guards could do was blow a lot of little greenish, sticky greenish bubbles. "Forgive me for leaving you, Captain," said Bartholomew, "but a captain full of bubbles is no help at all." Bartholomew stretched the poor man out. He left him there on the chamber floor. Bartholomew went tearing through the zigzag palace hallways. "I'll get the king's horse. I'll ride through the country. I'll warn the people of the kingdom myself." He pushed open the door that led to the royal stables. Bartholomew stopped. He could go no further. The awful oobleck was plumping down as big as greenish footballs now. Too late to warn the people of the kingdom. There were farmers in the fields getting stuck to the hoes and the plows. Goats were getting stuck to ducks. Geese were getting stuck to cows. Outside in the palace, it was piling up great greenish tons of oobleck, deeper and deeper on every roof in the land. There was nothing but Bartholomew Cubbins could do out there. Shaking his head sadly, he stepped back inside. But inside, a moment later, it was just as bad out. With an angry roar, the oobleck was suddenly hitting the palace harder. It was battering and splattering against the walls, as big as greenish buckets full of gooey asparagus soup. Like a sinking sailboat, the whole palace was springing leaks. The oobleck was ripping the windows right off their hinges. It was dripping through the ceilings. It was rolling down the chimneys. It was coming in everywhere, even though through the keyholes. From every bedroom in the palace came the howls of lords and ladies, frightened in their nightgowns. They came jumping to the doors. Go back to your beds, get under your blankets, Bartholomew Cubbins went crying through the halls. But nobody paid the slightest attention. Everyone in the palace started rushing madly about. The royal cook rushed down to the royal kitchen. Bartholomew Cubbins saw him trapped there, stuck to 3 stew pots, a teacup, and a cat. The royal laundress rushed outside to save her laundry. Bartholomew saw her stuck tightly to the clothesline between 2 woolen stockings and the king's Sunday best blouse. He saw the royal fiddlers. They were stuck to the royal fiddles. Everywhere Bartholomew ran, he saw someone stuck to something. They were stuck by the dozens. Every last friend he had in the world was flopping and floundering, all hopelessly caught in the goo. Then suddenly, midst the hubbub, Bartholomew gasped, "The king! Where was the king? He'd forgotten all about him." It was in the throne room that Bartholomew found him. There he sat, old King Darwin, proud and mighty ruler of the kingdom of Did, trembling, shaking, helpless as a baby. His royal crown was stuck to his royal head. The seat of his royal pants was stuck to his royal throne. Oobleck was dripping from his royal eyebrows. It was oozing into his royal ears. "Hush, my magicians, Bartholomew," he commanded. "Make them say some magic words. Make them stop the Oobleck falling." Bartholomew shrugged his shoulders. "I can't fetch them, your majesty. Their cave on the mountain Nekatave is buried deep in the Oobleck." "Then I must think of some magic words," groaned the king. "Oh, what are those words my magicians say? Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff? That's all I can remember, and they don't do any good. The Oobleck keeps on falling harder." Bartholomew Cubbins could hold his tongue no longer. "And it's going to keep falling," he shouted, "until your whole great marble palace tumbles down. So don't waste your time saying foolish magic words. You ought to be saying some plain, simple words." "Simple words? What do you mean, boy?" "I mean," said Bartholomew, "this is all your fault. Now at least you can do is say the simple words, 'I'm sorry.'" No one had ever talked to the king like this before. "What?" he bellowed. Me? Me? Say I'm sorry? Kings never say I'm sorry. And I'm the mightiest king in all the world." Bartholomew looked the king square in the eye. "You may be a mighty king," he said, "but you're sitting in Oobleck up to your chin. And so is everyone else in your land. And if you won't even say you're sorry, you're no sort of king at all." Bartholomew Cubbins turned his back. He started for the throne room door. But then Bartholomew heard a great deep sob. The old king was crying. "Come back, Bartholomew Cubbins, you're right. It is all my fault, and I'm sorry. Oh, Bartholomew, I'm awfully, awfully sorry." And the moment the king spoke those words, something happened. Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "I'm sorry." Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "It's all my fault." Maybe there was, and maybe there wasn't. But they say that as soon as the old king spoke them, the sun began to shine and fight its way through the storm. They say that the falling Oobleck blobs grew smaller and smaller and smaller. They say that all the Oobleck that was stuck on the people and on the animals of the kingdom of Did just simply, quietly melted away. And then they say Bartholomew took the king by the sleeve and led him up the steps of the high bell tower. He put the bell rope into His Majesty's royal hands, and the king himself rang the holiday bell. Then the king proclaimed a brand new national holiday in honor of the 4 perfect things that come down from the sky. The king now knew that these 4 old-fashioned things, the rain, the sunshine, the fog, and the snow, were good enough for any king in all the world, especially for him, old King Darwin of Did.
Well, in my opinion, not a good book.
Yeah, a lot of lessons there too. Wanting things to happen just because you think you're important, and you can't mess with nature, right? All right, but there are some other lessons in there about Oobleck, and we're going to take you over to our table of science and make some Oobleck. All right, well, hey, that was a pretty great book, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that king was sure crazy. He wanted something else to fall from the sky. What he got was Oobleck. Now, Oobleck is really a make-believe substance. It doesn't fall from the sky, but there is something that we make that we call Oobleck out of cornstarch and water. And we're going to take a quick look at Oobleck and slime and how to make it. But first, I want to talk about these liquids, this oobleck. Oobleck is what is called a non-Newtonian fluid. Sounds like a pretty interesting word. Non-Newtonian, meaning it doesn't follow the standard Newton rules of how liquids should flow. It has something to do with viscosity. Things with a very low viscosity, like water and gasoline, would flow quickly. Things with a high viscosity will flow more slowly, like honey or molasses. And we're going to take a look at that. And now, non-Newtonian fluids are a little bit different. They become more dense when we apply shear force or pressure to them. When we don't apply force, then they stay in their liquid state and they have a low viscosity. But if we apply force, they become a solid, like our oobleck. All right, so we're going to look at some different substances and see if they have a high viscosity or a low viscosity. First, water. See how fast that poured down there? Yes, that has a very low viscosity. Now let's look at some soap. Look at that. Can you get in on that? The soap
It's taking a lot longer than that water to get down there.
definitely had a different viscosity. Now let's take a look at the honey.
Let's
This
see.
is honey from Forcex Honey Farm. Local honey.
Wow. Huh. Oh, it seems to be going pretty slow too.
There we have it. The water had a very low viscosity. The soap, a little bit higher viscosity. And the honey has the highest viscosity, right? It is still traveling down there. Let's look at this low viscosity water one more time. Yep, that just goes right down there. And that has a lot to do with the shape of the molecules that make this up. High viscosity, medium viscosity, low viscosity. Now, our non-Newtonian fluid that we're going to make, like I said, the viscosity is going to change depending on how much pressure we put on it. Oobleck. First oobleck, the normal oobleck, is very simple. We just need some cornstarch and water. I'm going to add about half of one of these of cornstarch and some food coloring. Now, just to make it like the oobleck we saw, we're going to add green in our book. It is not showing up there.
Maybe we need a little more?
I think we should have added the food coloring to the water. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
It's okay, we learned from our mistake. That's
That's right. Don't add the food coloring to the powder. I thought that seemed a little silly, but we're going to add it. All right.
Oh, there we go.
All right, now there we go.
If you remember our colors video, green was one of them.
Yep, and we could have, if we didn't have green food coloring, we could just make it yellow and blue.
Yep.
We're going to mix this up. There we have our oobleck. Oh boy. Yep. That is oobleck. A non-Newtonian fluid. Look, it's a solid. It doesn't flow. But then all of a sudden, it doesn't flow. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then look. Woo. Wait. I want to solid again. No flowing here.
Oh, it
When I
turns
apply
back.
that shear force, it's a solid. It doesn't flow at all. When there's no force, it's liquid. It has some viscosity.
That's really neat.
Yes. Alrighty. So, this is our oobleck. Could you imagine all of your town being covered in this?
Wow.
This falling from the sky? It would be crazy.
Yeah, I don't think umbrella would even be any help.
Not at all. All right, hey, just for fun, we're going to take a look at how to make slime. All right, now to make our slime, it's a little bit easier. all we have to do, this one if you're gonna do, well, any of these if you do at home, you should really have your parents' help. And I am going to place 3 tablespoons of water into my cup. 3 tablespoons of water into my cup. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, there we go. Water, a Newtonian fluid. Now, I need 1 tablespoon of glue.
This is what's gonna give it this slime aspect and not have it just water.
Right. What color do we want this to be? You know what? Let's do a little trick from our color video and let's make some purple slime.
Yeah.
All right. So for purple slime, whoops, I'm going to have 2 drops of red
1, 2.
and 1 drop of blue and see what happens.
3.
Whoops, that was 2 and 2. So it'll probably be very dark purple. Alrighty, now we need to stir this up.
Wow, doesn't that look cool in there?
You can do this in a Ziploc bag too.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a deep dark purple. Now, for the activator, what's going to actually make it the slime is 2 tablespoons of borax. Ready? 2 tablespoons. There is 1.
1.
Ooh. And 2. All right, now stirring this up will be tough because it's just going to stick to my spoon. So I'm going to try and shake it up.
Shake it.
Shake it up, baby.
See how all that
Christine,
goes.
shout.
Oh yeah. I can see the purple on it.
Now, that activator, though, caused a casing around the outside. So we're going to have to open it up and break that up and let some of our borax out, usually, with your fingers. Woo!
It kind of looks blue on the camera, although, trust me, that's purple.
Yeah.
And eventually, it'll end up like this.
Yep. And there we go. Slime. It's good to knead it around and play with it for a while.
Yeah.
I still feel some of that borax clumping up in there. But the more you play with it, the smoother it gets.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed this video inspired by Dr. Seuss's birthday, March 2nd. And hope you enjoyed the story. We'll
Yep.
see you next time, Malia gang.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.